mysterious man, walking along a dirt road, observed several children playing in the street. As he watched them, he became fascinated by one small girl in particular. He had some vital information for her. He approached her carefully. He didn't want to alarm her until she was close enough for him to call on her. "Little girl, I have something for you." Little Marie-Annie stopped chasing her friends and went to the old man. She looked up into his old wrinkled face, squinting from the glare of the sun. She couldn't make out his facial features too well, but she asked, "You have something for me?" The old man said, "I don't have anything to give to you, but I do have instructions for you. Before you do anything, simply look up and say, 'Forget me not.' Do you understand?" Marie-Annie nodded her head up and down. What did it all mean? Why did he tell her to do that? The old man patted her on the head and shuffled away. She watched him as he disappeared down the street. The encounter was so odd, but interesting at the same time. Marie-Annie went home, and right before she stepped through the front gate, she looked up and said, "Forget me not." When she changed out of her school uniform and put on her play clothes, she looked up and said, "Forget me not." Before she did her homework, she sat at her table, looked up and said, "Forget me not." When she ate her dinner, she looked up and whispered to herself, "Forget me not." At night, as she laid her head to pillow, she rolled onto her back and looked up and said, "Forget me not." To her, it was kind of fun, almost like a mantra. She was a child. Kids like to do things repetitively. In the morning before she washed up, she looked up and said, "Forget me not." Marie-Annie didn't know that her parents were into the occult and conducted various rituals for people who stopped by to have their fortunes read or cast a spell. In order to do these things, the spirits that they consorted with made all of these things possible. One evening, as Marie-Annie was asleep in her bed, some visitors came by to perform a ritual. Marie-Annie's parents sat with the people to work with them. No matter how many incantations they recited, how many candles they lit, or how they concentrated, nothing happened. Sadly, they had to turn the customers away without taking their money because the spirits that they normally consorted with were not present. They needed answers and decided to go to a Ouga to find out why this happened to them. The Ouga man sat the couple down at a wooden table. He pulled out a set of playing cards in order to peer at them to find out why the spirits did not serve them. The Ouga man carefully laid out his playing cards, staring at them for several intense moments. "Well, it appears that your child is the cause for the spirits not to come and assist you in serving people. There is something within your child that has chased these spirits away. This child must be stopped, and once that happens, then the spirits will return to you and you can continue to make money." The parents, armed with this new information, left the Uga man and decided to devise a plan to kill their own child. Their love of money was more important than the child they created. So on the child's birthday, her mother prepared her favorite meal of fried chicken and fried sweet potato. When the child came home from school, her mother greeted her, "Happy birthday, Mariani." Mariani, pou fête ou mwen fè yon poule frit avec patate pou. I prepared your favorite meal for your birthday. Go wash your hands and sit down and eat. Mariani was so excited. She hung up her uniform and slipped into her play clothes. She washed her hands and went into the kitchen and sat down at the table. She picked up her fork to dig right in. But she remembered what the old man said. She took the plate of food, held it up and said, "Forget me not." She went to set the plate back down on the table and it slipped out of her hand, bounced off the table, and shattered to the floor. Mariani cleaned up the mess. She didn't have the heart to tell her mother that the food that she worked so hard to prepare for her fell to the floor. Patiently, Mariani's parents watched to see if the poison had taken effect that they had placed in her food. They didn't know that the plate broke. They were so confused. Why wasn't she dying? Why wasn't she even sick? Before bed, Mariani's mother warmed up some milk for her child and sprinkled some sugar in it. The mother retired to the front room, waiting for Mariani to drink down the milk and fall dead in her bedroom, since it was poisoned. Before the child lifted the glass to her lips, she raised the glass above her head and looked up and said, "Forget me not." The glass shattered in the palm of her hand. It scared her. Not to mention, she was starving. Again, she cleaned up the mess and went to bed. Before she closed her eyes, she whispered to herself while looking up, "Forget me not." After these failed attempts on her life, the parents decided they'd take her to an undisclosed area and kill her in the brush. All this so that the power of divination could be restored to them. On a Saturday afternoon, they told their child they would all be going out for a drive. She happily hopped into the back seat, excited as to where they were going. They drove for hours, and as children often do on long trips, they fall asleep. When she opened her eyes again, it was dark, and her father was still driving. She wondered where they were. She looked out of the window to see trees and darkness surrounding them. From the back seat, Mariani said she wanted to use the bathroom. So they pulled off the road, they unlocked the door, and let her out to squat. When she was done, she got back into the car. They were close to where they needed to kill the child. Before she got back into the vehicle, she looked up and mouthed, "Forget me not." They were now back on the road. As her father drove, inexplicably, he lost control of the car. They ended up sliding into the woods. Horrifically, the car rolled over several times before landing on its hood. The child didn't know what happened. She opened her eyes and found herself lying on the side of the road. She was in so much pain. She couldn't move. She didn't know who the old man was. As she laid there, she thought of the old man. Where did he come from? And why did strange things occur every time she looked up and said, "Forget me not"? Who was supposed to remember her? One thing was very clear. She wasn't forgotten. The car was on fire now. There was nothing she could do. How she wished her parents met the old man too.